What is up, everyone? Please take a second to hit that like button. The more likes that we get in a short period of time, the more people the algorithm will bring into the chat to come hang out with us and see what's going on. So please hit that like button and let me know how you're doing. Well, let's see how late he is this time. He's already 1 minute late. Yeah, Joanne. Old Man Walter is supposed to be speaking again. We'll see. Thanks, Indigo. It was created by FB Designs. He's one of the hooligans in the Discord. Alright, I gotta send out these notifications. I forgot to do it last time. Hey, thank you so much, GM, for for the donation and the support. I really appreciate you. What's up, Stacy? What's up, Wayne? What's up, Edward? Let's see what's going on with these other chats. Old Man Walter, how late are you gonna be this time? What's up, everyone on Twitch? What's up, everyone on Odyssey? What's up, everyone on Rumble? And what's up, everyone on Facebook? What's up, Ford Falcon? What's up, U.S. Navy? What's up, Mama Bear? Hey, Mercy Rain. Big D, yeah. That probably is going to be pre-recorded. William, if you don't know about Brandon, you're in the wrong chat. That's hilarious. What's up, Lisa? What's up, Michael? What's up, farm girl? What's up, Steven? You think I should start a podcast? I'm just worried that I won't have enough to talk about. I don't know. I could do a podcast, but it'd have to be like Joe Rogan style. Like, it'd have to be like what we're doing right now. Podcast would suck without having you guys to talk to. What's up, John? What's up, Thunder Chicken? Thanks for being here. You guys don't know about the Let's Go Brandon stuff? I'm trying to think. So it was like a NASCAR race, and the crowd was chanting F Biden like they've been doing all around the country at pretty much any large event. And some reporter, I don't remember if it was CNN or who it was, but she was like interviewing a NASCAR person. I don't know if he won the race or what. I don't know all the specifics. All I know is she's like, you know, how's it feel? They're saying let's go Brandon, but they were not saying let's go Brandon. They were like F you Joe Biden. Like that's what it was. And so now it's kind of become like a meme or a joke. You say let's go Brandon is another way of saying like F Joe Biden. Yeah, I appreciate you, Jordan. Yeah, a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people. It used to be more common than it is now, but every once in a while, I'll have someone in the comments, like after the live is over, not in the chat, but in the actual comments under the video. Somebody will be like, why are you always begging for likes? I am not begging for likes. I do not have to beg people to like my live streams. People will do that on their own. I'm trying to coordinate the likes so we can fill this chat up, so we can use the algorithm to our own benefit. It's been a while, but I'm sure I'm getting real close to that point where another person's gonna jump in the comments section. Oh, you're just begging for likes. Maybe if you were better, you wouldn't have to beg for likes. People feel bad about themselves. It's all right. Yeah, Steven, I've actually been thinking about doing a podcast. Just been really, I'm always busy. Like I said on the last live, I really need to get like an assistant or something. I would like to do a podcast. I've been kind of on the fence about it, but the last live for an hour and 50 minutes, we just sat here and chatted it up with nothing going on the screen. We might end up doing it again depending on how late old man Walter is. He's already 10 minutes late. Maybe we'll figure out something with a podcast. Maybe we'll like find some top news articles or something. It doesn't necessarily have to be politics related. It could be like new technology coming out or new video games coming out or I don't know, just whatever top news, and we can just sit here and talk about it. I've thought about how to go about doing a podcast if we were going to do it. I appreciate you, Frosted Sleet. Real life, there's none here in the chat. All those people are in the graveyard. Yeah, never again. A lot of people do. A lot of people will show up here, hit the like button, then run over to the White House channel and hit the thumbs down button. I check on it every once in a while, and there's usually about 1,000 thumbs down over there. What's up, Adam? I'm doing pretty good. I hope you are too. John Costello. I wish I could get on Joe Rogan's podcast. We'd probably be chatting it up. It'd probably be hilarious. I'm really trying to get in with Salty Cracker. I think if we did like a co-show, it would probably be hilarious. This guy is a character. Why is he marching like that? Like, who walks like that? I know why. It's because of this. Makes sense now.
Good afternoon, everybody. Please be seated. We're here for a celebration.
Eat shit.
We're here to celebrate the latest step that President Biden is taking to protect, to conserve, and to restore the lands and the waters that all of us cherish. Today, President Biden is restoring protections for 3 magnificent national monuments, and this announcement follows on consultations with a wide variety of stakeholders, and it fulfills a key promise to the American people. Restoring protections for these national monuments is part of this administration's broader commitments to protect our natural and our cultural resources, to honor tribal sovereignty, and to advance environmental justice. President Biden's conservation agenda is also a critical part of how we're tackling the climate crisis. By protecting our ecosystems, we strengthen the power of our soils, our grasses, and our trees to trap carbon pollution. And healthy natural systems build up our resilience against the climate impacts that we know we are already facing. Tapping into these natural climate solutions will protect public health. They will protect us against climate impacts. They will promote biodiversity, and yes, they will grow our economy. That's worth a clap. That's why President Biden, through his Build Back agenda, has also proposed creating, are you ready for it? A new civilian climate corps, which will partner with our unions in putting to work a new generation that looks like America, receiving good benefits and good pay, to restore the health of our public lands, our coasts, our waters, and our forests, and to advance environmental justice and help communities to better prepare for the impacts of a changing climate. And across our administration, we're taking a whole-of-government approach to conservation and to climate with the agencies that steward so many of our lands and waters, like the Department of the Interior and Agriculture and Commerce. We're all working together to advance wind and solar, to promote climate-smart agriculture and forestry, and create good-paying union jobs all along the way in implementing these innovative climate solutions. So as we celebrate today's restoration of these 3 national monuments, we're also committed to building back better as we tackle our climate crisis. And with that, I am so honored to introduce my good friend Brenda Mallory, the chair of the White House Council on Environmental Quality, who is leading on our conservation and environmental justice efforts. Brenda?
Who's cheering like that? Like, come on.
Thank you, Gina. It is so great to see all of you in person. I can't tell you how exciting it is to be in person on this day and this event. I want to welcome you to the White House. And I also want to thank you, each and every one of you, from tribal leaders to business leaders to conservation leaders, to hunters, anglers, climbers, scientists, educators, and millions of American people. Thank you for speaking up. Thank you for standing up and for fighting to keep a simple but sacred promise that in America, when we protect a place as a national monument, it is to be protected for all time, for all people. Let us reflect on the meaning of this moment. The single largest elimination of protections of lands and waters in US history was met by the single largest mobilization for conservation in US history. Millions and millions of Americans rallied to help tribes defend Bears Ears, to restore Grand Staircase Escalante, and to safeguard the Atlantic Ocean's first marine national monument. This fight has galvanized a new and powerful vision for conservation in America. A vision in which we act with urgency and ambition to conserve and restore the lands, waters, and wildlife we love and that are disappearing so quickly. A vision in which the stewardship traditions and conservation priorities of tribal nations and are celebrated and supported in both law and policy. A vision in which every child in America, no matter where they live, has a chance to experience nature's wonders. And a vision in which we harness the power of our forest and farms and ocean and coast to keep our climate livable and communities thriving. This is the vision that President Biden, with your help, is pursuing. And let me tell you, there is no one better to stand beside as we drive this work forward than our extraordinary Secretary of the Interior. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend and partner in so many things, Secretary Deb Haaland.
Thank you.
She's dating her?
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I start, I just have to say that I have the best team at DOI, and I'm so grateful for all of you, so thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Brenda. Thank you for your introduction. We are here today on the ancestral homelands of the Anacostan and Piscataway people, bending the arc of the moral universe toward justice. Thank you, Mr. President, for the profound action you are taking today to permanently protect the homelands of our ancestors. Our songs, our languages, and our cultures are strong, and many people from many Indian tribes have sung and spoken in unison to protect this sacred place. Bears Ears is a living landscape. When I've been there, I've felt the warmth and joy of ancestors who've cared for this special place since time immemorial. It's a place where you can stand in the doorway of a home where a family who lived thousands of years ago left behind a legacy of love and conservation for a place that sustained them for countless generations. Stories of existence, celebration, survival, and reverence are etched into the sandstone canyon walls. Sacred sites are dotted across the desert mesas. Cultural heritage in the form of ancient pots, arrowheads, clothing, seeds, and evidence of lives well lived are as inseparable from Bears Ears as the air we breathe at this moment. Today, children learn and sustain from their parents and elders the songs, traditions, and ceremonies that have been passed down from generation to generation at Bears Ears. This is a place that must be protected in perpetuity for every American and every child of the world. Today's announcement, it's not just about national monuments. It's about this administration centering the voices of Indigenous people and affirming the shared stewardship of this landscape with tribal nations. The President's actions today writes a new chapter that embraces Indigenous knowledge, ensures tribal leadership has a seat at the table, and demonstrates that by working together, we can build a brighter future for all of us. We have much more good work ahead. Together, we will tell a more complete story of America. Together, we will conserve and protect our lands and ocean for people, for wildlife, for the climate. Together, we will strengthen our economy with healthy, resilient natural systems. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for strengthening the nation-to-nation relationship. Thank you on behalf of all Americans who love and value our cultural heritage. Thank you on behalf of the local communities whose economies are continually benefiting from healthy ecosystems on our public lands, national monuments, and parks. I am so grateful and very proud to serve on your team. And now, it's my distinct honor to introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America. Thank you.
That's a big deal.
Yes, it is.
He didn't want to sniff her. She was too old. By like 80 years.
Good afternoon. Please, all be seated, please. Madam Secretary, Deb, you've done an incredible job in a short amount of time. And I told you when I asked you to be Secretary of Interior that I understood I was politically raised by Danny and Owe, Indian nations. And I want to thank all the leaders that are here today for your support, for your help getting this done. And it's really, really important. And I want to thank Brenda, Council of Economic Quality, Environmental Quality, and Gina McCarthy. If you need any translation, talk to me after. Gina, you're the best. You're the best. And I want you to know, although he didn't speak today, I want to thank my buddy Tom Vilsack, Secretary of Agriculture, for being here today because he's about preservation. And Maria, Senator Cantwell, thank you for your really hard, consistent, unrelenting work on these issues. And I also want to thank Michael Bennett the same way. He's been in this and never, from the moment he got elected, has been pushing hard. And Ruben, I want to thank you, Congressman Gallego, for the work you've done and continue to do. I really mean it. This may be the easiest thing I've ever done so far as president. I mean it. I got to tell you a quick story. When I was running for office, and I'm embarrassed, I can't remember exactly which state I was in, but a gentleman and I think it was his wife and a little girl said, could I talk to you? And she had this, I couldn't understand what she had in her hand. It looked like a teddy bear or something. And she said, can I talk to you, Mr. She wasn't sure what to call me. I wasn't elected yet. Mr. President or Mr. Vice President. I said, sure, what's the matter, honey? She said, I want to give you something. I want to give you some bear's ears. I looked at her, and she gave me this little set of bear's ears. She said, you've got to promise me. You got to promise me. You'll protect the bear's ears. And I'm thinking, what the heck is we... I mean, at the time, I knew bear's ears, but I didn't quite get it. She said, and her dad said, you know, a national park. I said, oh, yes. She said, and she went and looked, she said, you promise. You promise. And I promised. And it's the easiest promise that I've made in a long time. I'm grateful to the tribal nation leaders and both those who are here with us today and those who are unable to join us. Today, I'm proud to announce the protection and expansion of three of the most treasured national monuments, our most treasured. Based on powers granted to the President under the Antiquities Act, first used more than a century ago by Teddy Roosevelt. First, Bears Ears National Monument in Utah. This is the first national monument in the country to be established at the request of federally recognized tribes, and a place of healing, as was spoken by the Secretary, a place of reverence, a sacred homeland to hundreds of generations of Native peoples. The last administration reduced the size by 85%, leaving vulnerable more than 1 million acres of cherished landscape. Today, we shall shortly be signing a proclamation to fully restore the boundaries of Bears Ears. And second, I'm restoring Utah's Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument, a place of unique and extraordinary geology as well as biodiversity. Established as a national monument 25 years ago this month. Over the last quarter century, this land has produced a significant scientific discoveries per acre than more than any other national monument, everything from fossils to ancient indigenous artifacts. And once again, the last administration cut the size of the monument nearly in half, stripping away more than 800,000 protected acres. Today, I'm signing a proclamation to restore it to its full glory. Third, off the coast of New England, I'm restoring protection of the Northeast Canyons and Seamounts Marine National Monument. Waters teeming with life with underwater canyons as deep as parts of the Grand Canyon and underwater mountains as tall as the Appalachians. There's nothing like it in the world. Because its unique biodiversity, marine scientists believe that this is a key to understanding life under the sea. President Obama established it as a national monument 5 years ago, recognizing its irreplaceable value. Again, my predecessor chipped away at its protections. The proclamation I'll be signing today is going to restore protections established by President Obama when this monument was first created. Excuse me.
Bullshit.
Protection of public lands must not become, I should say, a pendulum that swings back and forth depending on who's in public office. It's not a partisan issue. And I want to thank the members of Congress who have come together to support this important conservation work. And by the way, I might add, as a matter of courtesy, I spoke with both the senators from Utah. They didn't agree with what I was doing, but they were gracious and polite about it, and I appreciate that as well. The truth is, national monuments and parks are part of the identity as a people. There are more than natural wonders. They're the birthright we pass from generation to generation, a birthright of every American. And preserving them is the fulfillment of a promise to our children and all those who will come to leave this world a little better than we found it. But today, our children are 3 times more likely to see climate disasters uproot and unsettle their lives than their grandparents' generation. We have to come together and understand why this work is so critical. When we protect and care for a forest, we're not just preserving the majesty of nature. We're safeguarding water sources and lessening the impact of fires. The impact of fires. We're protecting wetlands. We're not only saving birds and fish and the livelihoods of people who depend on them, we're also shoring up the natural defenses to absorb the fury of hurricanes and superstorms. Nearly 1 in 3 Americans live in a community that has been struck by weather disasters just in the last few months. Hurricanes, wildfires, droughts, heat waves. Both the Build Back Better plan and my bipartisan infrastructure agreement are going to make critical investments, significantly increasing the resilience to these devastating effects on the climate crisis. It includes creation of a civilian climate corps, similar to President Franklin Roosevelt's Civilian Conservation Corps, which is going to put diverse groups of Americans to work doing everything from restoring wetlands to protecting clean water to making forests more resilient against wildfires. My plan also puts Americans on a course to achieve 50 to 52%, nearly 40% of the solutions to climate change. That's why I'm signing these proclamations today as an additional reason. It's also why I'm restoring protections for the Tongass National Forest in Alaska, which I've had the great honor to visit. As a matter of fact, when I was meeting with, back in the days when the senator from Alaska, I was with him after the oil spill on the North Slope. And we stopped in the Tongass Forest, and he sat me at a table in this magnificent restaurant in the middle of the Tongass Forest, which has tree trunks as big as those trees holding up the whole building. It's magnificent. And he sat me with what I kid and call Hoss Cartwright and his family. 4 big guys, really big guys, and they had a lumber company that they were foresting in the area, and they wanted me to support paying for roads into the national forest so they could forest. And we started the conversation. And to make a long story short, when I made it clear I wasn't going to do that, the father turned to his son, who looked like that program at Hoskart, big fella, and he said, "I'll bet," I won't use the exact language. He turned to me, I'm across the table, and he's got he and 3 of his sons, and he said, "I'll bet this so-and-so," referring to me, in an expletive deleted, doesn't realize he's closer to Lexington, Kentucky today than he was when he just flew off the North Slope. And it made the point to me. Alaska's pretty big. There's an awful lot we need to protect. But that's why I'm working to protect Bristol Bay from mining operations that would threaten one of the world's largest salmon runs. That's why I'm refusing to sell out the Arctic National Wildlife Reserve to oil and gas drillers. These protections provide a bridge to our past, but they also build a bridge to a safer, more sustainable future, one where we strengthen our economy and pass on a healthy planet to our children and our grandchildren. Let me close with this. Edward Abbey, a writer who once worked as a ranger at the Arches National Park in Utah, wrote, and I quote, "This is the most beautiful place on earth. There are many such places. Every man, every woman carries in heart and mind the image of the ideal place, the right place, the one true home, known or unknown, actual or visionary." End of quote. Folks, that's the United States of America. That's America, a country we all share together, a country that we must protect together. And this is just one more step in doing what other presidents have done, starting with Teddy Roosevelt. And I'm now going to sign these proclamations and thank you all. Thank you all for your support. Thank you. Come on, guys.
Is he going to call a bunch of kids over? That's what normally happens when he sits down outside.
First one I'm signing is Grand Staircase. All right.
They don't need face coverings.
Is the
It's for us, not them.
Bear's Ears.
Yes.
I wish I could remember that little girl's name. I hope she's watching.
We feel better that you don't.
Sign this, President.
You guys know it better than anybody. All right, there we go. I'm going to get you all a pen. And the third one I'm signing is the Northeast Canyons and Seamounts Marine National Monument. One. Somebody grab one who doesn't have one.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Next one. Next one. Next one.
I'm going to do the same back home, Mr. President. Thank you.
Next
I'm
one.
gonna start adding middle names.
Who wants a pen touched by a pervert? I don't understand. I don't get it.
Going here.
I mean, you could try and sell it on eBay, but I don't think anyone's going to buy it.
Put a PS there.
Yeah. PS more to come.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, 2 more. Barack used to be able to do this. Just say Barack Obama. He didn't give away 17 patents.
Lots of Obama talk. Who gives a shit about that?
1 more. And if I don't have enough pens,
Do a hard sign.
everybody get one?
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
All right.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Oh no, I ain't getting no copyright strike over that bullshit. Dirty old man Walter. There's no way I could be like, Mr. President. Like, listen, Joe, you smell like shit and baby wipes. Get the hell away from me. Good Lord. Yeah, John, I didn't even think about that. He's been sitting here coughing in his hand this whole time. Now he's out here shit. Look, he's got his hand on the guy's shoulder. He's like, you get the plague, and you get the plague, and you get the plague. It's like Oprah, but worse. Yeah, Thunder Chicken. I think they were getting too close to the speaker for the clap track they had going on there. This stuff didn't even make sense. I'm playing the clap track. This guy like hooting and hollering. He didn't even say anything. Just poorly done. It's poorly done. Could you imagine assembling events like this? Like, okay, guys, we're going to set the clap track over here. We're going to put the green screen here. You guys are going to act real excited about all this. We're going to say a bunch of stuff that doesn't make any sense and is totally made up numbers. And then we're going to walk away really impressed with ourselves. Like, what the hell? It's like the land of make-believe. These people. Good Lord. All right. Well, let's see. Jen Psaki should be coming up. Oh, yeah. 2:30. So about 6 minutes. We're not even going to shut this down. We're going to keep her rolling. Give me a second so I can flip the screen. Before anyone asks, we already did the Pledge of Allegiance. Hopefully you guys all made it to the first live. I know there was an hour and 15 minutes of talking, and people are going to bitch about it in the comments after that video is done processing, but that's okay because lots of hooligans enjoyed it. People can bitch. That's totally fine. But I hope you guys made it for the Pledge of Allegiance during the first live stream. I think I'm actually going to make a recorded video of us doing the Pledge of Allegiance for everyone that misses it and really wish they could be a part of it. It's on my list of things to do. I need a team of people. I need a team of hooligans. Black Ops style. All right, just a moment. All right. Just waiting on Jen Psaki. Yeah, William, I got it pulled up. I just wait for her to get on the screen. It has a bigger effect when it hits the screen right when they step on stage. I appreciate you, Janet. Yeah, we need like a hooligans headquarters so we can get a team of hooligans together, help me get some stuff done. Appreciate you, Mercy Rain. Thought it was interesting that YouTube tried to join us in the chat, because when people started saying it was buffering and stuff, none of the other chats were having buffering. Nobody else was talking about buffering. My bit rate was nice and level. So that's how you know when YouTube enters the chat and they're monitoring us. Usually when that happens, it's because people are reporting the video for whatever reason, because their butt hurts, because they got all that sand jammed up in their hoo-ha. They need a good chest kick to knock it out. And so they report it, and then YouTube joins us, and they just see we're a bunch of hooligans. And most of the time they leave us alone. Not always. Sometimes they shut down the live. I wasn't sure for a second there. It was getting sketchy for a second there. If that buffering happens and they're monitoring us because of a report, if we get a bunch of likes to happen all at once, they'll usually walk away, because people aren't going to like a video that has some sort of graphic content or negative hate, this, that, or the other. Learn the tricks of the trade. It's been a bumpy ride through this live streaming journey. Patty, I was frozen. Yeah, it's probably because they entered the chat. Because there's not really anything I can do on my end. Once I start the live stream, it's started. I can't do anything about it. I can start it and I can stop it. I can't do anything else. Like, if one of the chats goes down but the other ones stay up, I can't redo that live on the one that went down without shutting it all down or turning it all back on. Thank you so much, Ted, for your donation, your support. Yeah, let's get some shout outs in. Thank you so much, GM, Alan, Mark Hill, MD, and Ted. Thank you guys so much for your donations and your support. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate all of you. I'll check it out, Wayne. Check my notifications really quick. Phone's sitting here flashing at me. What's up, Stephanie? What's up, Dennis? Yeah, Indigo. It's fine for a while. Like, if I go a day or two without going live and then I go live, usually everything's fine. But if I'm consistently going live, yeah, YouTube gets upset and they gotta come see what we're up to. It's weird because that whole system is ran by a computer. The whole platform is ran by a computer. They have human assistance, but it is ran by a computer. There's so many times where I inquire to customer service for one reason or another, and they've been like, oh, well, once it happens, it just happens. There's nothing we can do. Like, oh, so the computer told you what you can and can't do, and you just work there. Okay. All right. It's happened so many times. It's ran by an algorithm. That's what runs the whole platform. What's up, Brianna? What's up, Vic? Thunder Chicken, no, I do not have plate carrier patches yet. Someone did send me links that I need to check out to see if I can get custom patches made. I am working on it, though. I know a lot of people have wanted that since the very beginning. I'm trying to get it worked out. When I first found it, it was like $45 per patch, which is very expensive. But a hooligan had sent me a link, and I think they were like way affordable. They were a lot more affordable. So I'm trying to get that worked out. Thank you so much, Janet. I really appreciate the donation and support. Thank you so much. Ted, I don't know who that is, but I would be happy to be on their podcast. There's actually two different channels that are trying to interview with me or have a dialogue with me, and because the live schedule is so chaotic, I've been really struggling to get that set up. One is, I want to say Christian Watson is trying to get on the live, and DK is trying to get on the live as well. And I'm just, with Christian Watson, I've scheduled like 3 different live setups, and then something happens, and then I'm not able to go live for one reason or another for that setup, for that interview. Either we have something else going on, or I have some personal stuff I have to do. I'm saying I really need like an assistant or something to like not keep me on track. I'm not getting off track. I just have so much stuff going on that if I put energy into one thing, I'm taking energy away from something else that needs to be done at the same time. I need 2 or 3 of me. But no, I would love to be a part of other people's podcasts and get our hooligan name out there. Just got to do it one step at a time, I guess. I will, Miss Jamie. Thank you so much, Steven, for your donation and your support. I really appreciate it. I don't know if you've seen the message I tagged you in. I do have PayPal, Cash App, but Odyssey, it's funny because I was talking about it yesterday, and then right after I ended the live, Odyssey posted on Twitter everybody's take from the live platforms, what everyone takes out of donations and stuff, and Odyssey doesn't take anything. So if you donate through Odyssey, you get the full thing. There's no cut. YouTube takes like 30 or 35%. Twitch takes, I guess, 50%, according to what I read yesterday. I don't know what Rumble takes. And then Odyssey just gives you the full donation. Even like a PayPal donation, they take, I don't know, 3% or something like that for processing fees, which I didn't even realize when I paid my taxes last year, because I obviously have to pay taxes on everything I get through YouTube or any of the live streaming stuff, all the merch, everything like that. I have to file for self-employment. And I was able to write those processing fees off of PayPal as expenses for my business, which was interesting. I didn't even know my accountant figured it out. Thank you so much, Music Maker. You're awesome. Appreciate the donation and support. David Brooks. We need a streamer-thon in Vegas where we can all meet up like a Comic-Con. That would be cool. Connect with all the live streamers. What's up, Pablo? Thanks for being here. Appreciate you, Janet. Yeah, we're trying to get a lot of people on Odyssey and the other alternative platforms. There was someone that just wrote me on Rumble saying that they're going to be on Rumble from now on. It's awesome. That stuff is awesome. Because eventually YouTube's going to be gone. I got hair on my nose or something. Yeah, YouTube's going to implode or they'll just delete us, whichever comes first. It sucks. Because everybody's on YouTube. If they would just pull their ass off their shoulders, they'd be doing a lot better. But, they're a part of the agenda, just like Facebook. Yeah, Thunder Chicken, that would be awesome. Hydrodynamic, I am not concerned with what Corinne wants. Where's Trigger Crazy at? You and Trigger Crazy be just hounding me about Corinne. I swear I've only seen her once. It's not my fault she got excited. Some people get starstruck. It's okay. It's all right. VidCon is Comic-Con for creators. I've never heard of that. That's cool though. Well, I appreciate it either way, Steven. I just wanted to make sure that you had seen my my comment to you. Yep, Jen Psaki, 6 minutes late. I'm telling you, the White House is terrible about being on schedule. What's up, Eric? I'm doing pretty good. How are you? Livid review. I don't know where we would build the hooligan headquarters. Probably in Texas. Just because Texas seems to have their shit together. You know, they're not scared of pews. I don't know. I know Texas is getting shade thrown at them right now because of the whole abortion stuff. And I don't have an opinion about that because I can't have an abortion. So I don't have nothing to say about anything that has to do with that. But out of all the states right now, Texas seems to have their shit together. We would probably build the headquarters there. Even though I've never been there. I know we ain't building it in Michigan. I know that. I've lived in Michigan my whole life, except for a few years I lived in Indiana. I love Michigan, but I hate the way it's ran. The authority here is trash. All the elected officials, they're trash. Farmer Josh, Texas gun laws suck compared to Oklahoma. They might. I've never been to Oklahoma either. I don't know anything about Oklahoma. I've heard that in Texas your car is not considered a holster. I don't know if that's true or not, but I was recently looking up holsters to try and get a new holster for my hand pew, and in the comments, like, I don't know if you guys have seen them, but they have like these mounting racks that you can mount to the bottom of your dashboard to, like, it's magnetic to stick your pew up against it, so you have it right there underneath your steering wheel. And in the comments, every time I see those ads, there's 100,000 people in the comments going, "Oh, that's illegal. You can't do that." You can do that here in Michigan. You can just have your pew laying in the seat. It doesn't matter. Your car is a holster. But apparently in Texas, it's not. Yeah, Miss Jamie, they gotta put Jen Psaki's human face on. It takes a long time. There's Peter. Send in the Peter. That's what she said. I just really be outdoing myself, I swear. I will dawn break. Sounds good, XRP. I should really check out Oklahoma. The Jen and Peter show. Basically, that's basically what this is. Everybody got all excited for a second. Oh, false alarm. Buck fighting. Oh, Tennessee. Yeah, got Constitution carry. Yeah, that's cool. I was really hoping for a long time that Michigan would get Constitution carry, but now I got my CPL, which is a CCW everywhere else in the country. Speak of the lizard.
Happy Friday.
Looking like a duck.
I don't have any additional information.
Already? You're saying that already?
Okay. So one item for all of you at the top. Today's OECD agreement shows how American leadership and diplomacy can advance the economic interests of American working families. A global minimum tax of 15%, up from 0% today, will finally even the playing field for American workers and taxpayers. President Biden, Secretary Yellen, and the entire administration worked overtime to rally more than 130 countries, representing more than 90% of the world's GDP, to ensure that profitable corporations pay their fair share and provide governments with the resources to invest in their workers and economies. The President's Build Back Better agenda, now being considered by Congress, will build on this agreement. It will eliminate incentives to shift jobs and profits abroad and ensure that multinational corporations pay their fair share here at home. The international agreement is proof that the rest of the world agrees that corporations can and should do more to help build back better. I understand you're all looking for a week ahead. We will have one, I promise, in the later days of this weekend, and we'll provide that to all of you as soon as we have it. And last item, I know we talk about serious things in here, but we have one fun thing today. Chris is getting married in a week, so you won't see him for 2 weeks, and nobody can call him or bother him for 2 weeks. Bother me, Corrine, Chris. And just to embarrass him a little bit, I got him a little special sash to wear, just for the briefing, because everybody should know that Chris is marrying up, as many people do. You can put it on yourself, and also a pin.
This is where our tax dollars are going.
But really, we just wanted to congratulate Chris, celebrate him. Most important decision you make is the person you choose to be your partner. Glad you have your mask on. Exactly. Okay. With that, Amr.
I don't know how I talk about
You tell me. Give him advice.
Try to ask the question. Can you confirm that the White House is authorizing the National Archives to turn over documents covering all communications related to Trump's activity on January 6th?
The administration takes the events of January 6th incredibly seriously, as the president said on its 6-month anniversary. That day posed an existential crisis and a test of whether our democracy could survive. It was in many respects a unique attack on the foundations of our democracy. The president's dedicated to ensuring that something like that could never happen again, which is why the administration is cooperating with ongoing investigations, including the January 6th Select Committee, to bring to light what happened. As a part of this process, the president has determined that an assertion of executive privilege is not warranted for the first set of documents from the Trump White House that have been provided to us by the National Archives. As we've said previously, this will be an ongoing process, and this is just the first set of documents. And we will evaluate questions of privilege on a case-by-case basis, but the president has also been clear that he believes it to be of the utmost importance for both Congress and the American people to have a complete understanding of the events of that day to prevent them from happening again.
The president had previously said that the American Rescue Plan would add 7 million jobs to the economy. At this point, is the White House still confident in that reaching that 7 million number?
Well, that was, of course, based on outside economists providing their analysis. And you're talking about the Build Back Better agenda, not the American Rescue Plan, right?
I believe it's the ARP was the 7 million.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know if you were asking about the bill that's moving its way through or the bill that has been passed.
The bill that has been. I got 7 million, and I apologize.
No. I was just trying to understand which part of his agenda you were asking about. Nothing has changed on the projections of economists in terms of the American Rescue Plan that we're currently implementing. Yes.
Okay. And finally, today the president became the first U.S. president to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day. Why should the U.S. Continue to celebrate Columbus Day? And has there been any talk or discussion of, as many cities and I think a few states have shifted from Columbus Day to an Indigenous Peoples Day?
Well, today is both Columbus Day, as of now, and this is why you're asking the question, as well as Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm not aware of any discussion of ending that, ending the prior federal holiday at this point. But I know that recognizing today as Indigenous Peoples Day is something that the president felt strongly about personally. He's happy to be the first president to celebrate and to make it the history moving forward. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. I want to ask you about the jobs numbers. One of the things that the jobs numbers showed is that there are more jobs available, a historic number of jobs available compared to how many people are actually seeking jobs.
Yeah.
Why do you think there are so many people who are still reluctant to re-enter the workforce?
There's a range of factors in our assessment. One is people are still fearful of COVID. And what it will be like in workplaces and ensuring their own safety. There are still challenges as it relates to child care, elder care, the costs of those, and being able to afford it, and also the availability, which is something we've seen a shortage of in many communities. And we'd also have seen that the pandemic, while it's been incredibly challenging on many, many levels, it's also prompted many people to rethink what their careers might look like and what careers they may pursue. So you're right, there are an enormous number of jobs that are still available out there in the workforce, and we believe those are the range of factors that are attributed to that.
And then I was wondering if you could give us an update on the negotiations with Senators Manchin and Sinema. Democrats are expressing more and more public frustration with the two of them, arguing that they're not moving off of their positions. Are the two of them providing more concessions in private than they appear to be in public? And is the president getting frustrated?
Well, we don't have the luxury of being frustrated. This is a process. The president of all people recognizes that the process can take some time. There can be ups and downs in the process, and he feels that we're continuing to make progress, that both Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema are negotiating in good faith, that there is a recognition that not only do some people have to come down from their expectations of what might be in a package, but some others have to come up. That's what compromise is all about. So we're going to continue to pursue these discussions and negotiations. The president is confident we're going to get this done. Go ahead.
Thank you. First, on the economy, there are 500,000 containers floating off the California coast with nowhere to go. Major issues in the global supply chain right now. The vice president warned that this could happen in August. So why wasn't more done to prepare?
For the global supply chain issues?
Yeah, she was talking in August about if you want to have your Christmas toys for your children, now might be the time to start buying them because the delays could be many, many months.
I asked that because we've been talking about the issues in the global supply chain since January. And the president has not only put in place a task force, but we have taken a range of steps to work to address. Now, it's not just about ensuring that we are having different companies speak to each other. We've certainly done that. We've been a forum for hosting different industry leaders to see what we can reduce in terms of red tape in the process. One of the biggest issues in the global supply chain is also COVID, and the fact that COVID continues to be a threat to supply chains that are happening globally. So we've also worked to be by far and away the largest provider of vaccines, know-how, manufacturing capacity to the world. So we've not only been talking about this since January, we've been working to put in place a range of steps to help address the challenges in the supply chains.
And as we understand it, it's not just COVID, there are also labor shortages and issues with shipping lines here, overground shipping lines in the U.S. Is the president satisfied that his task force is doing a good job?
The president recognizes that there are several layers of the challenge here that contribute to the bottleneck. And on ports and transportation bottlenecks specifically, the president appointed a White House ports envoy this summer, John Percari, to work with Secretary Buttigieg and bring stakeholders, labor, private industry together to help solve the global transportation supply problems. The fact that he designated and appointed someone at that level with a range of vast experience shows that this is a part of the issue we're absolutely focused on. We're also focused, as I noted, on the work of the supply chain task force, also the semiconductor shortage, which has been an issue that has impacted a range of industries, and we're working to attack the challenges in the global supply chain at every point they are in the bottleneck.
Thank you. The Democratic candidate for governor in Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, who President Biden stumped for over the summer, now says the president is unpopular today, unfortunately, here in Virginia, so we've got to plow through. Why do you think the president is unpopular in Virginia?
Well, just if you look at facts and the polling, the president is the most popular figure in Virginia of anyone currently running for president or any former recent president. So I just note that in terms of the data. But I would say that the president's agenda is incredibly popular. That's probably the reason why former Governor McAuliffe is also running on that agenda, whether it is reducing costs for the American people on child care, on elder care, making sure the tax system is more fair, rebuilding our roads, rails, and bridges. Those are all components of the president's agenda that he has a huge agreement with former Governor McAuliffe on.
And then just one more topic following up on his remarks yesterday. President Biden claims that he cold called a Pennsylvania hospital to ask the desk receiving nurse why it was taking so long for a good friend's wife to be seen. What happened next?
Well, the context of why the president told this story, which I think is important, and I promise I'll answer your question, is that he was expressing that hospitals, frontline workers, nurses, doctors in emergency rooms are still seeing and feeling the impact of the number of people who are unvaccinated, who are filling beds and in emergency rooms, ICUs, and it is preventing, in some cases, people who have other illnesses, who may be seeking treatment, who may be fearful of a heart attack, other people who might be going to the emergency room from getting the care that they need. I don't have any other update for the privacy of this individual.
But setting aside the privacy of the individual, how often does President Biden call around trying to help his friends cut the line?
That certainly was not his intention. He was not trying to do that. He was checking in on a friend.
And do you know if this particular hospital might have been having staffing shortages because they have a vaccine mandate and maybe some folks have had to leave because they didn't want to get vaccinated?
I would love for you to account for me where that is the issue over more so than the number of unvaccinated who are filling emergency rooms, filling ICU beds. That is the problem in hospitals across the country. Go ahead.
Jen, what does the president say?
She meant that was the agenda they're pushing.
Right now for Americans from coast to coast as
Yeah.
we head into the holidays. What does the president say to Americans right now who are worried about those rising costs?
The president would say we take the commitment. He takes the commitment of lowering costs for the American people very seriously. We of course have seen, and from outside experts, including the Federal Reserve, OECD, and others, that their expectation is that these inflation rises will be transitory, that they will come back down next year, and that one of the best things we can do is pass his agenda. That's what outside economists, 15, 17 Nobel laureates have conveyed in order to reduce the risk of inflation over the long term. But he's also attacking this from everywhere he can. If you take, for example, the cost of meat in the grocery store, which we know is of concern to the American people. We believe that the lack of competition is a huge issue here, that the conglomeration of big companies in some industries is a huge factor, so he's also taken that on. But we would say to the American people that what we're trying to do is lower your costs, whether it's childcare, whether it's the cost of meat, or whether it's ensuring this is not an issue in years to come.
And for clarity, the time frame is still with the Fed said of next year. There isn't any better time frame the White House can give Americans about how long we kind of got to hunker down and get through this.
Americans should know that the Federal Reserve makes independent assessments. That's an important thing for history, and that continues to be their assessment.
Can I ask you then about the reporting earlier today as it relates to the former president's documents as they associate with the January 6th attack on the Capitol right now? Can you help detail for us or characterize what types of documents these are that would be provided?
Well, the documents are Trump-era White House records responsive to the Select Committee's request to the archivist. And so there is a process where the former president would have a period of time to assert executive privilege, and then the current president and team would have a period of time to review that request. But in terms of the details of them, I point to the Select Committee for more specifics.
Specifically in terms of what the White House is saying you can't exert executive privilege over. Is it phone records, visitor logs? Is there any way, can you run us through that list?
That is something I would point you to the committee on. Go ahead.
Jen, can you explain the standard of review then that the White House is undertaking? What would be something that this White House might consider privileged or should remain secret, that this former president or any other former president should have the privilege applied, to which the privilege should apply?
Are you talking about as it relates to January 6th or just in general?
Just, well, specifically in this review, if there's any information you could share about the process that has been undertaken and more broadly.
Well, the process that is one that has been outlined through history and law, is that the former president has the ability, not that there's a lot of past precedent here, I will acknowledge, has the opportunity to exert executive privilege. then to documents that are in the National Archives. And then this president and this White House has the opportunity to review that. Now, I think it's important to note, and I know I said this, but I will just reiterate, this is the first set of documents. So these will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. And obviously, we will be responsive to the requests of the committee. I would like to note, just broadly speaking, that, what this committee is investigating is not the normal course of government business, right? There is, as you know, and as all of you know, there are normal requests for documents, for information. There are moments throughout history where presidents and White Houses have asserted executive privilege. We will continue to evaluate those on a case-by-case basis, but this committee is investigating a dark day in our democracy, an attempt to undermine our Constitution and democratic processes by the former president. And that context, I think, is important here, too.
I'd like to ask put a finer point on a question Amr asked you about
Sure.
Indigenous Peoples Day. The president today issued 2 proclamations.
Yes.
One for Indigenous Peoples Day, the
Yep.
other for Columbus Day. In the Indigenous Peoples Day proclamation, the president spoke of it as a day to be celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Columbus Day proclamation, the president spoke of the need for reflection on that day. And he also seemed to indicate that Congress has requested that the president proclaim Columbus Day. So my question is President Biden begrudgingly proclaiming Columbus Day this year?
He's declaring both a holiday. Obviously, Indigenous Peoples Day is something that he's honored to be the first president to be issuing a proclamation on and celebrating.
Is it his wish that the federal law be changed, that Columbus Day no longer be the designation of the second Monday in October?
I don't have any prediction of that at this point in time. Go ahead.
Going back to the documents that the January 6th committee requested, can you clarify, we've seen public statements from former President Trump and his lawyers about an intention to invoke executive privilege, but did they specifically reach out and ask that certain documents not be shared?
There's an entire process that transpires. I would point you to them and to the National Archives. Go ahead.
Can I ask a follow-up on the economy really fast? You talked about labor shortages, you talked about supply chain issues. How long does the White House expect those issues to go on?
Global supply chain issues?
Yeah, what's your best guess for how long we'll have to be dealing with that?
Well, look, I think as I noted earlier in response to Peter's question, there are a couple of issues at play here.
I thought his question about the length of inflation.
He also asked me about the global supply chain.
Peters.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes. Oh, also about he asked me about the global supply chain issues. Okay. Sorry.
They're getting her.
Over here. So one of the issues is, of course, how quickly we can work as a global community to address COVID and get it under control around the world. The United States is far and away the largest provider of vaccines, donating millions to billions to the global community to get the pandemic under control. We have also taken significant steps far and away, more than any other country, on manufacturing know-how, on ensuring that we are providing the supplies that are needed to countries. We continue to need other countries around the world to step up to help address, because the global supply chain issues are in some part related to manufacturing in other countries. There are some issues we've seen, some progress on addressing, but we also need to get the CHIPS funding passed and through Congress. That's something the president strongly supports. A semiconductor chip shortage is a huge issue, as you all know, in the auto industry and manufacturing here in the United States and around the world. So I would say there's not a one-sentence answer on this, because I know you weren't asking for one, but because there are a range of issues, we're working to address them on several paths and on several fronts, and I can't make a prediction of when it will be concluded. It is just a top priority of the president's. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jan. Just a quick follow-up on inflation. So we're looking at Labor Department data. It shows that there is like a 0.9% decline in how much Americans have earned per hour on average this August versus last year. So year-over-year data when you adjust it for inflation. And so inflation is clearly eating into people's paychecks. And, I understand that you're saying that, and you have said this in the past, that impact from inflation is transitory, that the president will, when asked how he plans to address this, we'll talk about competition issues, we'll talk about meat prices. But are there any sort of near-term steps that, the White House is now thinking of taking making as you look at this data that is starting to flow in? And is the president starting to get increasingly concerned, perhaps, that this is now starting to actually eat into people's paychecks?
Well, as you picked that wages piece of data, though, I think what's important to note is that the progress that the president talked about this morning is on a range of fronts, which is also important. We're at a faster projection of economic growth than we were at a year ago, far and away. The 4.8% unemployment rate is down from 6.3% in January. Unemployment claims are down 60% since the president took office. We have seen close to 5 million jobs created since President Biden took office, and wages actually went up month to month from last month to the prior month. So that's all important data. I understand we can cherry pick different data pieces from a year ago or 2 years ago, but what we're seeing in the trend is encouraging and is progress being made. As you well know, inflation is the purview of the Federal Reserve. They make projections. We rely on those projections. Those continue to say that it's transitory and will come down next year. It is also important that we address this over the long term and we address the costs. That is really what we're talking about in terms of the impact on the American people. People may not know. You hear inflation, it's like, what does that mean? That means rising costs, right? And how do you address those costs? And what the president's trying
Yeah, we're too stupid.
agenda is do exactly that. Cut the cost for the American people. Child care, elder care, cut in half the child poverty. Make sure that people have some breathing room. That's really what he's focused on doing in terms of how it's impacting people who are sitting at home worried about their economic future.
Are there specific, perhaps, commodities? You spoke about chips. We've been talking about chips for a long time. Are there specific commodities or specific bottlenecks in the global supply chain that are perhaps emerging more than ever now, in the run-up to the holidays that the White House is particularly focused on?
Well, I've talked about a couple of the areas where we are quite focused on doing more and ensuring we're doing more, including addressing ports and transportation bottlenecks, which, as we know, can impact a lot of different areas because it is how goods are moved and transported and ensuring there aren't the delays that I think you all have reported on in a range of ways. And John Porcari is somebody who has a great deal of experience, having worked for the Department of Transportation in the past, and is working to address those global transportation issues. I noted, of course, the semiconductor shortage, which, as you know, impacts a number of industries here. And we have made some progress in our view, including improving communications and trust across the supply chain, improvements in the supply chain practices, which may seem overly simplistic or just cutting through bureaucratic red tape, but it can help the process and move things forward. I also noted food processing. This is an area also where we have seen impacts in some communities from food processing and issues in the global supply chain. And so we know that the pandemic has revealed vulnerabilities in our food system. That's one of the reasons the Department of Agriculture announced the new Food Supply Chain Loan Guarantee Program. And we've also seen, as it relates to lumber, which was an area that we talked about quite a bit several months ago, and we saw the impact on how that impacted housing prices of new homes specifically. Since its peak, the cost of lumber has decreased by 60%, and is one example of the market leveling off. So point is, there are different, as you know, there are different issues as it relates to the supply chain in different industries. We're working to address them and attack them all at the same time. We have seen some elements of progress, but we also continue to understand and know that as we're coming back from a global pandemic, a massive undertaking, and the economy's turning back on, we're going to have to keep pressing to make sure we're addressing these issues, and we're doing that around the clock at agencies across the federal government.
Thank you. And then just one quick question on gas prices. Reuters has some reporting that shows a lot of American consumers we're talking to have started to link the rise in gas prices to the administration's policies that ban fossil fuels. For example, a pause on federal leasing on land and water. And so my question is, why keep a lid on production at home with American companies and instead ask OPEC for more production where that production is perhaps not as environmentally regulated? Is there any consideration perhaps being given to this, keeping in mind rising gas prices?
Well, we are in touch. We are not a member of OPEC, as you all know. We are in regular touch with OPEC, and we have also raised issues of supply in meetings that members of our national security team and others have had in recent weeks, as I have confirmed from here. We, of course, want to address the short-term supply issues. One of those issues, as we know, was related to Hurricane Ida and the impacts in the region, which we took steps to address certainly at the time. But our view, to go back to your original question, is also that, well, we need to take steps to address short-term supply issues. We need to also keep our eye on the long term and the impact of the climate, the crisis that we are in the middle of, and ensure that we are continuing to encourage the production and rise of renewables and the clean energy industry, which is exactly what the president's proposals would do. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. As the January 6th committee looks to enforce some of the subpoenas that it has been issuing for witnesses, will the president direct the Justice Department to prosecute criminal referrals from the Select Committee?
That would be up to the Department of Justice, and it would be their purview to determine. They're an independent agency.
Has the president discussed that at all with the Attorney General or anyone?
They're independent. They would determine any decision on criminal prosecutions. I'd point you to them and, of course, the committee.
And then just going kind of big picture here, today we saw another jobs report that fell well below expectations, the smallest jobs gains in nearly a year. Gas prices are at a 7-year high, inflation is up. The president is struggling to get the rest of his Build Back Better agenda passed through Congress. How do you assess where things stand right now with regards to his presidency? And do you see a need at this point to course correct, perhaps?
We certainly don't see things as darkly as you do. Look, the president's focus is on leading through a challenging time, and that has been his focus from the first day he took office. If you look at the data month over month, as I noted a few minutes ago, he has also created 5 million jobs under his presidency. We've created an average of 500,000 jobs a month. We are at a faster rate of economic growth, a lower rate of unemployment than in quite some time. That's progress. That's moving exactly in the right direction. And as it relates to the president's agenda, we're continuing to press forward with members of Congress who have a broad range of views about the path forward. But we're making progress. The president remains confident we're going to get it done. And this is what governing looks like.
Do you not see today's jobs report as a warning sign in any way that perhaps the economy is not headed in the right direction, that perhaps the recovery is not going at the pace that it should be?
I don't believe that's what economists are projecting at this point in time.
And just a quick foreign policy question. It's been 3 weeks now since President Biden authorized the use of sanctions against the Ethiopian government. We've seen credible allegations of human rights abuses, allegations of genocide. The Ethiopian government expelled 7 senior UN officials last week. What is the president waiting for to actually implement those sanctions?
Well, he signed the executive order in order to ensure we had the authority should we make the determination to put sanctions in place. That's, of course, an interagency process and a decision he would make the final sign-off on, but I don't have any update on the status of that at this point in time. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. The president signed the Havana Act into law today, but he did so out of public view. His statement today said that the United States government is offering resources to people who suffered from Havana syndrome incidents, but he stopped short of calling these incidents attacks. So at this point, what should the public know, and what can the public know about what Havana syndrome actually is and how it is caused?
Well, I think the public should know that this president is the first president to acknowledge the existence of Havana syndrome or anonymous health incidents, that across the government, across the national security team, they're taking this incredibly seriously. The National Security Council has worked closely with departments and agencies to take a number of significant steps, standardizing the reporting process so that all possible AHIs that are reported by U.S. personnel, regardless of department or agency affiliation, are uniformly documented and quickly shared, improve the quality and speed of medical care, which is part of what this bill would help do, ensure there is financial support for that, ensure all relevant departments and agencies have messaged their workforce to provide guidance, increase intelligence collection and analytic focus on determining the cause of AHIs, and enlist U.S. government and outside experts to increase our understanding. What is important to also know and understand is that we, of course, are determined to get to the bottom as quickly as possible of the attribution and cause of these incidents. The intelligence community is in the lead on that. They have launched a large-scale investigation into the potential causes. They're actively examining a range of hypotheses, but they have not made a determination about the cause of these incidents or who is responsible. So our focus is on implementing, starting a process that did not exist when the president took office. It's a huge priority for the government, the national security team, and the president was certainly pleased to sign the bill today.
Is Havana syndrome a threat to Americans, particularly those traveling abroad?
I don't think you should make that assessment. We have not made an attribution. We have not made an attribution of the source, but we take every reported incident seriously. And what we want to do is ensure that our national security team is using every resource at our disposal, intelligence gathering, assessing, treating every incident seriously, ensuring people receive medical care, but without an attribution and without an assessment of the cause or the origin. I just don't want to go further than that. Go ahead. Well, I'll come back to you, Patsy.
So the Congress has now temporarily solved the debt ceiling and funded the government. What is the president's expectation for a timeline of any sort to move forward on the infrastructure bill and the Build Back Better agenda? Obviously he's had a lot of conversations with members of Congress, but now that those two more immediate things are passed, is there an expectation that there's going to be a lot of progress next week? Is that something that he's conveyed to members of Congress? He wants to move forward on this, particularly before these issues come up again in December.
The president wants to move forward as quickly as possible, but I'm not going to set new deadlines.
On the debt ceiling again, is that something, it seems like he will be able to sign a short-term suspension of that. Are there any conversations about trying to avoid the situation that Congress faced this week so that it doesn't happen again in December, or is the focus primarily on the two pieces of legislation?
Well, I think there's no question our preference this week, last week, and in the future would be to fully address the debt limit and not put the American people in a position where they are worrying about their retirement savings, their Social Security payments to members of the military moving forward. So we would like to have a longer-term solution, there's no question. Well, it took us some time to get there through a little blood, sweat, and tears. Well, not blood, but sweat and tears, perhaps. What last night showed is that this can happen through regular order. And obviously, our preference would have been longer term, but there was a short-term extension. It happened through regular order. We're going to continue to press to raise the debt limit and do it as it has been done in the past in a bipartisan fashion.
One last on that. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer gave a speech after it passed. Senator Manchin and some Republicans criticized that speech. Does the White House have any response to kind of the words that the leader used on the Senate floor?
Well, we also issued our own statement, so I'd point you to the tone of that statement as to what our view is. But I would say that our view continues to be that Leader Schumer has shown great skill in navigating this process through a challenging process. We have confidence in his ability to do that moving forward. And I think it's important to remember that the reason we were teetering on the edge of default and an economic calamity is because Republicans were refusing to join with Democrats or even to allow Democrats to be the adults in the room and raise the debt limit themselves. Go ahead, Tam.
Thank you. Does the president support eliminating the debt limit entirely through some sort of legislative process? There seems to be a growing chorus to just take away the cliffs.
I've heard that, read that, seen that. I would say our focus right now is on, we're about 6 weeks away from another timeline and deadline. We want to do what has been done in the past, almost 81 times in the past, in raising the debt limit, doing it in a bipartisan way through regular order. There's plenty of time for discussion after that.
Is there any possibility of putting the debt limit into the reconciliation Build Back Better plan?
We'll leave the legislative strategy and approach to Leader Schumer. Obviously, we just got agreement on the short-term extension last night, and we'll work closely with him and his team over the course of the period ahead.
And has the president spoken with Senator Sinema this week? And do you have a sense of what the areas of difference are?
Well, we'll let her. I wouldn't say we see it as areas of a difference with the president. The president's working to, obviously he supports absolutely everything in his package. It was his package. He proposed it. He gave a big speech about it. He also understands and has known from the beginning that compromise was inevitable. People were going to have to give, including him. He's not going to get everything he wants out of a final package. So really what the stage we're in now is about determining what a smaller package looks like. We've been in that stage for a couple days, as we expect it to be, and we will continue to be, I would expect. Our senior team has been in touch with Senator Sinema. We believe she continues to work with us, communicate, negotiate, discuss in good faith, and we'll work to continue to make progress.
So maybe if I rephrase it as areas of requested compromise.
Well, I'll let Senator.
Compromise you could discuss.
I will let Senator Sinema speak for herself on that and what her points of view are at this point in time. Go ahead. Or go ahead.
Even as vaccination rates are going up and as the president said, COVID cases are starting to come down, one of the main reasons why people are avoiding the workforce according to recent data is fear of catching the coronavirus. So what more can the White House do here in order to fix the labor shortage? Because this seems to be the big issue. Is there more the White House can do?
Well, one of the big steps we took is to announce a mandate for businesses with 100 or more employees, which obviously the next step would be OSHA regulations on how that would be implemented. A number of companies, as you know, have already put their own mandates or requirements in place, and we've seen a great deal of success across the board on this front, where companies have been able to, United Airlines, for example, ensure there was greater certainty. Employees knew they were working with people who were vaccinated. There are fewer people who are, of course, out sick with COVID, fewer people who have even worse impacts than that. So one of the big steps we've taken and announced is to put in place these requirements for businesses. Hopefully that will create more certainty. And there's no question, to your point, that fear of COVID, fear of work environments that people are not sure if they're safe or not, is a contributor as we look at the number of open jobs out there. Good.
One more on immigration. The courts said about 2 months ago that the administration would need to restart the Migrant Protection Protocol program. Is there an update on that? Is the administration going to restart that soon?
We have been working to abide by what the requirements are under the ruling, while at the same time, the Department of Homeland Security, I believe, issued a new memorandum just a week or so ago. I'm happy to get you that after the briefing too on our path forward. Go ahead.
Thank you. The president's very tough approval ratings these days. I know you probably don't like to talk about polls, and you might say that they don't mean anything, but it's also fair to say the White House, when there are good polls, you publicize them. So what do you make of these really terrible polls? Are they that he's doing something wrong? Is it just the communication, or is it he's doing unpopular things that have to be done? Or something else?
Sure. Well, look, I would say that this is a really tough time in our country. We're still battling COVID, and a lot of people thought we'd be through it, including us. And because of the rise of the Delta variant, because of the fact that even though it was a vaccine that was approved under a Republican administration, even though we now have full FDA approval, and even though it's widely available across the country, we still have a quarter of the country who have, less than that, 20% of the country who have decided not to get vaccinated. No question that's having an impact. And of course, as the president has said, the buck stops with him. That's far and away the biggest issue in the minds of the American people, and it's impacting a lot of issues. We've talked a little bit about the supply chain. We've talked about, people's safety and feeling in the workforce. And so our focus is, yes, not exactly on the day-to-day up and downs of the polls. Our focus is on getting the pandemic under control, returning to life, a version of normal, so people can have security and going into work and dropping their kids off and knowing people will be safe. And that's where we think we should spend our time and energy. Go ahead, Kelly.
On the executive privilege issue, Donald Trump has certainly suggested he might again be a candidate for the nomination of his party and run for the presidency again. President Biden has said he intends to run. So for people who are not familiar with the rules of executive privilege and might look at this as through a political lens, what would your response to that be in terms of how the public should judge this action from this White House?
Sure. Our view is that there's nothing political about working to ensure that the events of January 6th never happen again. It shouldn't be a Democratic thing, a Republican thing, an independent thing, a political thing at all. This should be a shared goal, and a key part of that, in our view, is ensuring that the Select Committee has the information it needs to ensure accountability for these events. The Supreme Court has recognized that it is, quote, the current president who is vitally concerned with and in the best position to assess the present and future needs of the executive branch and to support invocation of the privilege accordingly. That's exactly what we're doing. And as I noted earlier, we're going to evaluate on a case by case. This is the first tranche of documents, and it is also important for people to understand that this is the use of executive privilege, which I think you're asking, because people don't entirely always know exactly what that is. We have been very cooperative with Congress. We will continue to be, as it relates to a range of issues related to our administration as well, and evaluate on a case-by-case basis. But this was a uniquely dark day in our democracy, a day that we need to get to the bottom of, and that's important context here as well. Go ahead, Jen.
Thanks. I just wanted to come back to the incident, the protest that happened with Senator Sinema over the weekend, and whether that's something that the White House or the president has been thinking more about since then.
Sure. I mean, I would say I talked to the president about this maybe 2 days ago. It's all running together in the last few days, I would say. And what he conveyed very clearly, just in case there's any confusion about where he stands, is that, well, of course, we all agree, and as Senator Sinema said herself, the right to free speech and to protest is sacred to our country. He believes that what happened to her crossed the line and was absolutely unacceptable and flat out wrong to violate someone's personal space in a bathroom. It doesn't need to happen that way. We can peacefully protest without it crossing that line. So that continues to be his point of view.
And have you had any conversations with her or other senators about it?
Our staff has been in close touch with her over the course of the last several days, working in good faith to make progress and move forward. I'm not aware of other discussions he's had with other senators.
One other thing on the global minimum tax. Secretary Yellen said she wanted to see this happen through reconciliation. Would that be a part of the Build Back Better bill, or how are you thinking about the strategy on how to deliver on the U.S. commitment on that?
Yeah, part of it is certainly making the tax code more fair and discussing that as a part of the reconciliation package, yeah. Go ahead.
On student loans, 15 House members sent a letter to the White House demanding the memo about the administration's authority on forgiving student loans by October 22nd. First, has the president seen the letter, been made aware that the letter and that frustration is out there? And what's your reaction to the letter?
I'm not aware of the letter. I haven't seen the letter. I'm sure someone in our legislative team, or I'm happy to check if they have seen the letter. I'm happy to check with them, but I'd have to take a closer look at it. I would say the president certainly believes we should lower the cost of college, make it more affordable to people. He wants to ensure it's an option. That's why he proposed an expansive plan on community college and making that accessible to people across the country. And he also continues to would welcome a bill sent by Congress that would eliminate $10,000 in student debt. That hasn't passed. That's something everybody could certainly work toward passing. Go ahead, Patsy. I promise to get back to you.
1 second.
Yeah.
But is the review that the Department of Education was said to be doing, are they still doing that? Have they started that? Is it over and you guys are just figuring out, typing it up? Is the printer paper, like what is the?
I don't have any update on it. I can see if there's an update from the Department of Education. Go ahead, Patsy, and I'll come back to you.
Jen, 2 questions to follow up on the Havana Act. One of the complaints that I hear a lot from people who believe that they were targeted by these attacks and also suffering from the so-called Havana syndrome is the disparity in acknowledgement and also treatment depending on the country in which they were attacked. So they're saying if they were attacked in Cuba, the government would admit and acknowledge, but if it happens in China, the government would not readily admit. So would you say this is a fair characterization? Is there a reason for this, diplomatic or not? And would you commit to treating all the victims and supporting them in the same way, no matter where they were attacked?
It's hard to speak to anonymous sources here, Patsy. I would say that, as I noted earlier, our objective and the president's commitment is to standardizing the reporting process, is to ensuring we're improving the quality and speed of medical care, is of ensuring every case that comes forward is taken seriously, treated seriously. That has not always been the case, but that is our objective and the commitment of this administration.
Follow up on that. I understand you've explained how you want to standardize a process of reporting, but will that include some sort of centralized support system, maybe a hotline or a task force where the victims can go and call? Because right now when I'm talking to the victims, they're saying they have to fight a skeptical bureaucracy. They don't know how to find care from doctors who understand the syndrome, for example, and they just don't know how to take care of themselves and their families, having to fight all of this bureaucracy.
Well, I'm not sure that your characterization, Look, this is a priority for every national security agency. It's something that many members of our national security team have spoken to personally, passionately, themselves, and their commitment to addressing this. We've also taken a number of very concrete steps. Each agency has their own process and system, but what we're working to do is coordinate it. So I think it's not really fair to speak to one or two anonymous cases when this is an across the government effort, commitment, priority. The president signed a bill into law today. We've put a number of steps into place that are incredibly concrete. The president has acknowledged this is a problem. We're using every resource in the government to address it, and I think that really speaks to the president's commitment. Go ahead.
Yesterday, hundreds of immigrants and activists protested outside the White House, calling for Democrats to still include a pathway to citizenship in the reconciliation package. There's been about 90 legal experts who've also submitted a letter saying that the presiding officer of the Senate can issue a ruling contrary to the Senate parliamentarian. Has the White House discussed any of these options with lawmakers on Capitol Hill, and would the president support, kind of bypassing the Senate parliamentarians' ruling on including a pathway to citizenship?
Well, just so everybody understands the process, and they very well may, but just to give the additional context here, we of course wanted key components of immigration reform to be in the reconciliation package. The president supported that. He was vocal about that. The Senate Democrats went back twice and tried to get components into a reconciliation package, and the parliamentarian, as you noted, but just so everybody understands the process, twice ruled that they could not be included in the package. In order to overrule a parliamentarian, it is not just waving a magic wand. It requires a majority of votes in the Senate, and it requires the vice president. So I would say that's a legislative process. I would point to Leader Schumer and others to ask the question of whether there is the opportunity or the appetite to do that.
Activists see reconciliation as one of the last opportunities to get immigration reform passed. President Biden said that that's one of the part of his agenda. I don't know. Are there any concerns that this isn't going to happen at all?
The president is 9 months into his first term in office. He introduced an immigration bill his first day in office. And his immigration bill not only included a pathway to citizenship, it included investment in smart border security, it included reforms to the asylum processing system, it included ensuring that Dreamers no longer have to worry about their safety and security in the United States, security primarily, being able to stay. And that's something he's absolutely committed to. And there are a lot of Democrats in Congress who feel as passionately about it as he does. So we're going to have to press forward and work to find the vehicle. And what these activists are doing is great. They're out there advocating for putting in place long overdue reforms. We agree they need to be put in place, and we need to keep pressing to get the job done. Go ahead.
Do you want to go and then I'll go?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. A couple of questions. One on India. After last month's meeting between President Biden and Prime Minister Modi, there have been a series of visits with the two countries ongoing, and few are next several weeks. Where does the India-U.S. relationship stands now after the visit?
Well, I would say clearly the Quad meeting that happened just a week or two ago, it's all times running together for me at this point in time, but was just an opportunity to discuss the importance of the relationship and the partnership, the work that can be done moving forward, as well as, of course, the bilateral meetings. So there's two meetings in one day. And now at this point, the focus is going to be on continuing to work through high-level interlocutors, whether it's the Secretary of State and leaders of the State Department or leaders from our national security team, about how we can continue to move forward on a range of issues, whether it's economic security, physical national security, addressing COVID and getting the pandemic under control. So that work will continue at lower than leader level, but still high levels in the weeks and months ahead.
President has spoken about giving a pathway to citizenship for illegal, both the documented Dreamers as well and the legal immigrants as well. This month, 80,000 green cards spots were lost, and they have millions waiting for green card. Does the president think that was a waste, could have been revived and given a faster pathway to citizenship to a lot of citizens?
The president absolutely wants to address the delays in the green card processing system as well.
One more on the Afghanistan attack, 100 people died today. Do you have something on that?
we obviously any loss is an enormous tragedy, and our heart goes out to the families who lost loved ones. We of course will continue to work in partnership with leaders in the region to work to get partners who stood by our side out of Afghanistan who want to depart. That's something that there's ongoing work on as we speak. I think it's going to be the last one.
I wanted to ask about the COVID-19 vaccine rule that OSHA is working on.
Sure.
It's supposed to be an emergency temporary standard. What does that mean in this context in terms of timeline? Is it going to go through the normal OMB process? Will it be expedited somehow? What does that mean?
That's a really good question, Courtney. I mean, I think what the next step is here is, of course, they need to release their the regulations publicly. As we said at the time, we expect it to be several weeks. That remains the case. I don't have an update on the exact timeline. In terms of the exact machinations of the process, let me see if we can get you something more technical to address that question. Thanks, everyone.
You saw him cough and sniff. Is his health okay before there's wild speculation? Is he all right?
No, Miss Jamie, I did not ban Corinne. She's welcome to join us if she would like. Well, that's it for lying and crying from the White House. They don't have anything else scheduled for the day. Of course, tomorrow starts the weekend off, so we will not be hearing any lying and crying for the next 2 days. Maybe we will see some marching or rallies or something. Tomorrow, I believe, President Trump has a rally going on. Let me see if I got anything on the schedule really quick. Yeah. Oh, actually, I think there's a rally today. Just a second. There's possibly a rally going on today. I will have to double check. I think it's going to be going on in about 4.5 hours. So there's possibly a rally going on today. Hydrodynamic, there could be marching or protesting going on in Portland tonight. They said they were going to be going live yesterday. Last week they said on Thursday, so it would have been yesterday, but they didn't go live. That doesn't mean they didn't march, but they didn't live stream it. And President Trump is holding a rally tomorrow. I don't know if we're going to cover it or not. The last 3 or 4 rallies I've covered, no one shows up. Some of it I understand because we're just hearing him say the same stuff over and over again. It's always good to see the president, but it's also hard. It's hard on your heart because it sounds really great, but we don't have 3 years to wait for someone to come fix what's going on. So I understand it. I'm not sure if we're going to cover it or not. We will see. If you would like to see the Trump rally tomorrow, join the Discord and just let us know. I need to see more support if I'm going to be showing the Trump rally because I can't show it on YouTube. I can't show it on Facebook. I can only show it on the alternative platforms. And then no one shows up. And then it's me and 30 hooligans and a lot of trolls usually. And so, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Liberty Sweetheart, yes, there is a chat on Rumble. I don't know what's going on with the Rumble app. If you're using the app on Rumble, you can't see the chat. You can only see the comment section. I use a browser. If I'm using Rumble, I go on the browser. The chat is like right next to or right under the live stream. But on the app, for some reason, it doesn't show you the chat at all. Which is partly why I want to make kind of like tutorial videos for Rumble, Discord, Odyssey, Twitch, stuff like that to make people more comfortable with getting on the alternative platforms. If we could get enough people on the alternative platforms, I wouldn't spend so much energy on YouTube. We would still go live on YouTube, but I would probably put more focus on the alternative platforms. But with YouTube having the biggest chat and the more people connected to it, it requires me to put more energy into it. But I would really like to get everybody on the alternative platforms because you guys are all getting flagged. I spend a lot of time unflagging all of your comments so you can speak freely in the chat. YouTube shows up and causes our chat to lag out. Sometimes they shut down the live. It causes me to have to censor like pews and all, we can't have Trump rallies. We can't have anything that talks about the jab. We can't have anything that talks about going against like mask mandates and stuff. Like there's all kinds of stuff that I can't show on YouTube. But as long as people stay on YouTube, I'm kind of tethered to it and having to deal with all those hoops that come with it. So if we could move people over to the alternative platforms, like Rumble is almost like an exact alternative to YouTube. They have super chat. They have a chat box. Everything runs smoothly. It is like the green and white version of YouTube. And then next to that is Odyssey. Odyssey is foreign looking, but they're totally about free speech. They don't take any part of the donations or anything like that. It goes straight to the live streamers. True Crazy, you're a bigot. But the alternative platforms are better than YouTube. They're just not, people are not aware. They're just not aware because they're so new. And then Twitch has always been good to me. There's not a lot of balanced live streamers on Twitch. I mean, if you're not looking for people playing video games or half-naked thoughts licking microphones, because that's mostly what Twitch is, then maybe Twitch isn't for you. Otherwise, like Antifa goes live on Twitch every once in a while, but it's not as often as it used to be, with everything kind of dying down. And then there's me on Twitch, and I'm kind of standing out of place, but they've always been good to me. So, I mean, if you were feeling some type of way, you could always check out Twitch. Podcast Gel, yes, I'm currently right now, I am live on YouTube, Twitch, Odyssey, Rumble, and Facebook. Everybody's on Facebook has showed me love so far. I haven't had any like trolls or, well, I guess I did in the beginning. I had people who got the jab and they were all pissed at me because I didn't or something. I don't know. I corrected their existence on my chat. But even like on Facebook, it's like really slow moving on Facebook. And I almost want to go live on TikTok. But you can't go live on TikTok unless you have 1,000 followers or whatever. And I got 40 with the near no videos that I have on there. I don't really like TikTok that much. But with everyone being censored, a lot of conservatives have moved over to TikTok, and they're getting out information that have to do with the jab, or it has to do with the mandates, or it has to do with the border, or even Afghanistan. They're actually getting that information out through TikTok. And although TikTok is a China data mining platform, that's almost the only place that's not being hardcore censored right now. So I've considered actually going live on there, but I'm maxed out on platforms right now. So if I was going to do that, I would have to take away something. And at this point, it would probably be Facebook. But that's not going to happen until I get 1,000 followers on TikTok. And I'm not really doing anything to earn 1,000 followers on there, because it's not like I'm out here making stupid dances and, you know, whatever. I'm not about that life. But we'll just see how it goes. Wayne Gordon, how do you get on the chat in Odyssey? If you use the LBRY app, everything acts funny. I don't know why these platforms have apps that don't function properly. I use the browser. I use the browser for Odyssey. I use it for Rumble. The chat is right there connected to the live stream. I really don't have any problems. It's when you use the apps that everything gets really funny. I don't know. It's weird. They need to do something about the apps. The apps suck, because I think that's what's messing everyone up. Is everybody's like, oh, I should get on Rumble, or oh, I should get on Odyssey, and then they inquire, and then a lot of people are like, oh, get the app. They have an app. And then you get the app, and then you check it out, and then you're like, this sucks. This doesn't function correctly. Or where's the chat? Or where's everyone at? There's no viewers here. And then they leave. And it's because the apps suck. If you use the browser, there's a lot more functionality, and it's a lot more obvious what's going on. You guys would be surprised how many people are using the comment section on Rumble to try and talk to each other. And it just goes in any kind of order. It gets all mixed up. There's no like pinning button. I can't pin anything to the top of the chat. It's all messed up over there. And I think it's because people don't realize that they're talking in the comment section and not the chat box, because they're using the Rumble app and they're not on the browser. It's whatever. ARGs. No, I do not go live on DLive anymore. DLive is trash. Every time I show a Trump rally, they ban the video, they shut down the live chat, and it's because they're against Trump. They're not for free speech. I called them out on it. Just a moment. Goodness, this monster is kicking my ass. DLive banned 3 of my lives, and then on the 3rd time they banned the chat and disabled it, so I wasn't able to have a chat anymore. And normally when that happens, it's game over. You can't get it back. Well, I wrote them a huge paragraph calling them out like big time about it, and they ended up re-enabling my chat and then wrote me a letter saying, if you do it again, we'll ban you permanently. Now, it's fine if I'm showing Antifa. It's fine if I'm showing chaos and civil unrest. It's fine if I got old man Walter on the screen. It's fine if I'm showing a court hearing. But if I put Trump on the screen, that chat doesn't last 15 minutes. It's gone. And that's bullshit. That's bullshit. And I'm here to show what's actually going on all the way around us, not just little peaks here and peaks. I'm not the White House. We're not doing, hey, look over here, don't look over there. We're not doing that. And so to hell with DLive. And I still get followers. I have the app on my phone still, just in case Behind Enemy Lines goes live, because they go live on there. But it sucks because almost every day it's like, 16 people followed you today on DLive, and it's like, well, I don't know why, because I'm not going live on there. The only reason I still have my account on there is so people can get redirected to these platforms. And I've thought about maybe live streaming video games, but I'm so creative with how I speak while I play video games that I don't know. I don't think it would do me any good to play video games live. So that's the only reason why my DLive is still there. Yeah, I don't know. Live streaming is difficult. Lots of hoops to jump through. Shane, that's basically what I'm trying to do is use YouTube to try and get people to go onto the other platforms, but it's a long, tedious process. But either way, I'm happy to have all you guys here. Hydrodynamic Trigger Crazy Bigot merch drop yet? Not yet, Hydrodynamic. You guys are killing me. You and Trigger Crazy are going ham. You guys are getting a timeout. No, I appreciate all you guys. Big shout out to everyone that made donations, join the membership program, or purchase any merch. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are what's keeping the channel going, and I wouldn't be able to do this without you. So thank you guys so much. Make sure that you follow or subscribe. Just a second. Goodness, that monster is like stuck in my throat, and that's what Jen Balsecki said. Anyways, please make sure that you follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're currently watching right now in order to be connected and to help my channel grow so we could potentially get new viewers in to be able to see what's actually going on around us. Yeah, and join the Discord. I'm going to post the Discord link in the chat when I'm no longer on the screen, so please stick around for that if you're not already a part of the Discord. The Discord is awesome. We have conversation just like we're having right now, 24 hours a day. You will always be notified for when and where we go live every single time we go live. And there's tons of news pouring in from all over the world on the news board. More news than you can read in a day. You want to be informed, you sit there and hang out on the news board. So definitely join the Discord. It is worthwhile. Also, if you're a person that still exists on Twitter, definitely follow me on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter. I don't know why I haven't been banned. I don't know if it's because I'm a music account or what. I go ham on Twitter too. So yeah, definitely follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord. Big time follow the Discord. I will post the link in the chat. We'll also post the Linktree link in the chat. So stick around for that if you haven't already checked that stuff out. Thank you guys so much for being here. Let me flip this screen because I'm just a little baby in the corner. That's what Biden was hoping for. Anyways. So I hope to see you guys in the Discord in a few minutes. And like I said, there's possibly a rally going on today. There is a Trump rally going on tomorrow. You guys are going to really have to push me if you want me to show it tomorrow because nobody's been showing up for the Trump rallies. I like to see the president, but it's a lot of work to go live. It's a lot of risk involved showing the president, because the media hates him because he's a truther. So you guys will really have to push me if you want to see this rally tomorrow, because it's not great sitting here with nobody in the chat by myself live. I could just be watching it on my phone or having it play in the background while I'm making music. Either way, thank you guys so much. You guys are super awesome. I hope to see you in the Discord in a few minutes, and I will see you on the next live. Until then, stand tall, shine bright, and that's a wrap.